Hi, I'm Chef Cosmo Meens. We're here at Cook Culture, and we're gonna make a tom yum goong, which is basically a Thai hot and sour soup. First of all, we gotta make a chili jam for the base and a vegetable broth. We're gonna get our pan nice and hot. We've got our water in this pot. I've taken these onions and just put them over the open flame on the gas range and just charred them a bit. Not necessary, but it just adds a little bit of caramel color, a little bit of caramel flavor, sort of a burnt onion flavor. So we're gonna put those in there. We're gonna put some smashed lemongrass stalk. I've taken this chili and just split it so that we can get access to the heat. We're gonna put that in there. Some galangal, lime leaves, shallots, and garlic. We're gonna bring that to a boil and let it simmer for about an hour, and then it's gonna be ready to make our tom yum. Next, I'm gonna put garlic and shallots into this pan, and we're gonna stay with that and caramelize that until it becomes very, very sweet and cooked down. While we've got our shallots and garlic caramelizing, we're gonna crack the seeds out of these dried chilies, and we're gonna fry those with some dried shrimps in another pan. And we're gonna get all this caramelizing together in preparation to make our chili jam. We're gonna wake all those flavors up in that hot oil. Oh, you can smell how delicious that's going to be already. Okay, so I'm removing the seeds to just reduce the heat. If you like it extra spicy, you can leave the seeds in. Once those are nice and toasted, and we can add those right into our shallots and finish caramelizing them together. So I'll turn the heat down on that a little bit and let that just do a slow caramelization. So we're gonna turn that into a jam, an onion jam. So we've got that all caramelized there. We're gonna add our shrimp paste, and we'll just sear that up in the pan. And we'll just smash that all around and get that exposed to some of that fat. Wake that up too. Oh, this looks really good. So we've got the shrimp paste, now a little bit of palm sugar that we're gonna add in there. And then we've got two options for tamarind. This one is very, very thick, like a molasses. This one is a bit thinner. For the chili jam, I prefer the thick one if you can find it. Okay, so you see how thick and molassesy that is. We're gonna add that in, and that adds a beautiful color, depth, and sourness to the jam. So we're gonna turn that down. Actually, I've turned it off, and just blend all that together. And then we're gonna blend that into a paste. And once I blend it into a paste, I'm gonna put it back in the pan and reduce it down even a little bit more. Okay? Now, if you were using the thinner tamarind, it would just mean you might reduce your paste, your jam down a bit more after, and then you're going to concentrate that flavor. This one is pretty much done already. And because I'm making a bit of a smaller batch than I normally do, it's a bit trickier to blend because there's not as much substrate, but that's definitely why I'm using my immersion blender rather than my full-size blender. You could also alternatively smash this in a mortar and pestle, okay? So we're going to scrape that all off. You can see that beautiful jam. And then we'll put it back in the pan and reduce it down a bit more. So you can see that we've blended that into this beautiful thick jam, which the Thais use as a condiment. They make fried rice with it. They use it as a base for tom yum goong or hot and sour prawn soup. They'll add it to their noodles on the side of their dish. And we're just gonna reduce this down with the residual heat in the pan, and then that'll be ready to go. And like I said, with the concentrated tamarind, you really don't need to reduce it that much when you use this particular product. This one's the CTF. The tamarind's more like, more watery. There's quite a high water content in it. So that one you would have to really reduce down. So our Thai veggie broth is bubbling away here. All the aromatics are blending in. And I always try to change recipes and make them better and veer off track. And what I found with this particular one, the very first time that I did this, I was like, oh, you use a vegetable broth? I want to make a complicated chicken broth. And I ended up doing that, and actually it was like, oh, this doesn't taste the way that it should. So I went back and just stuck to a classic vegetable broth. And what happens is it's a lot cleaner. So you get all these flavors in your chili jam, and then you allow for your prawns and your mushrooms and various things to pop in the broth without this depth that comes from the chicken bones that in this particular soup I find wasn't necessary and actually less desirable altogether. So we just get over there and give it a smell, not too close, but that alone, that could be a very nourishing, beautiful tea, spicy, aromatic broth to like warm your system up. But we're pretty much ready to make this, use this as a base and make this into our soup. So I'm gonna get some prawns ready, we'll get a few other things ready, and then we'll build a tom yum soup. So when making our hot and sour soup, we've got our broth going, we've made our chili jam, now we gotta prepare our prawns, which just happen to be beautiful BC spot prawns. And we're coming up, well, we're actually in spot prawn season now, so when I picked these up, I actually saw live prawns that were just available for the first time. So this is really awesome that we're getting these. These ones are tails, and when you get your tails, what you want to do is scrape down the center and kind of crack that center bit here. You see that you've cracked that, and then run your thumb all the way along underneath so that we're just going to take that outer sheath off. Be careful of these little pokey guys here and here, because they like to bite you a little bit. And then what we want to do is we're going to keep the tail on. Now with tiger prawns, what you would do is butterfly them and cut down this vein here, because they sort of feed them a bunch of stuff and there ends up being like excrement in that vein. With our wild BC spot prawns, you don't need to do that. You don't need to clean them or devein them. They're already clean and beautiful. And I like to keep them whole because it keeps that texture. Okay, I like that pop. It's almost like a little lobster. So we're going to prepare all our prawns like that. So as one of the things to prepare for our hot and sour prawn soup or our tom yum goong is our vermicellis. They're made with mung beans. And what we want to do is just put them into boiling water and then turn it off and let them sit for a minute. So we've got some water boiling here. We're going to just drop them in there. They cook very quickly. And we'll just turn that off. Let them sit for a minute, rinse them in cold water, and then if you want, even hold them in cold water until you're gonna use them in your soup. So we've got our broth made, our chili jam made, we've prepped our prawns. Let's start building the actual soup, okay? So that's gonna start by taking our lemongrass, which we've already rinsed, and we're gonna take this outer layer off, and we're gonna smash it. To expose all that delicious on the inside. So we're gonna add that to our pot. Okay, and then we're gonna take a chunk of galangal, clean off any undesirable bits, and we're gonna add that to our pot. Take some lime leaves. I like to jostle them a bit. Throw that in there. Okay, and then we're gonna take a chili, and once again, just do a slit down the middle, open it up, okay, put that in there, and then we're gonna use a strainer, and we're gonna strain our broth in there with some new fresh ingredients. Okay, then we also, you can notice our vermicelli noodles are done. Let's take those and strain those off too. And we're gonna just give those a rinse in cold water. In Thailand, they call these glass noodles because they're clear like glass, and these are made from mung beans. You can see how beautiful those are. That's our fish in the oven, which is for a different recipe altogether. Let's check our fish. Okay, so we're getting ready to prepare and blend together everything for our hot and sour soup. I've got my limes down here, so I'm giving those a roll, giving myself a little hand massage in the process. I'm gonna cut those open. These ones I've already rolled, and they're nice and juicy and ready to go. Got our lime squeezer, and we're gonna add fish sauce, lime juice, and chili jam to our broth. Okay, so lime juice, fish sauce, and then our beautiful chili jam that we made up earlier. And we're just gonna mix that all in. Oh, I'm starting to get hungry. Blend it all together. We'll put our tomatoes and our prawns in last, but we'll also add a few mushrooms. Okay, so let's get some of these gnocchis. Okay, in Thailand they would use straw mushrooms, but we can also use oyster mushrooms or gnocchis. And another one that I like is shimeji. These are actually Japanese mushrooms, but they're beautiful in this soup as well. So we're gonna add those, and we're gonna bring our soup up to a boil to dissolve our chili jam and get it ready to put in the bowl with our prawns and tomatoes right at the end, and then pour it over our glass noodles, top it with fresh cilantro. Oh, this looks good. Okay, so the Thais are very particular. Their culinary culture is so rich, and they love tasting and tweaking their food. Even when you order salads and various things from them, they let you taste it before you buy it. So let's give it a taste. That's so good. My mouth is gushing right now. Okay, so I want to pull this long stalk of lemongrass out just to make a bit of space to plate this up, and so it's not in the way. You could serve that super rustic, like busting out. Actually, let's put it right in the bowl. So one of them is like really rustic, busting out of the bowl. just for fun. Okay, so we don't want to get a huge chunk of galangal in our mouth. So I'm going to pull those out. And now what we want to do is add our fresh tomatoes. And our beautiful peeled spot prawns with the tails still on. And those are just going to go in right at the end, so they're just cooked. Okay. I really have an issue with overcooked prawns. They're such beautiful meat that actually one of the best things I ever had is in live spot prawn season is peeling them and eating them live and raw. They're just like, they taste like gelatinized ocean. Okay, so now we're going to take our glass noodles, which we've cooked and cooled, and we'll put them in the bowl. Let's just eat them all. We're keeping an eye on our prawns. You can see just that minute or two in there is going to be perfect. Okay, so now we'll come over here and we'll put the prawns in first. Okay, so we get them out of there and stop them from cooking. They're just starting to curl. Okay, so we want to get them out of there before they completely curl over, because they're still going to be in the broth for a while we get the other ingredients in there. So 3 nice big prawns. Whoa. And then we're going to ladle this beautiful broth over top. And so the color of your tom yum is going to vary based on how concentrated you make your jam and whether you use the dark or the lighter tamarind. So this one's a lot darker than if you were to use the lighter tamarind, but this is going to be so good like this. And then we're going to top this with fresh cilantro. And that is our tom yum goong, or Thai style hot and sour soup.